So that was tough, boys. That was very tough. But we came out with a win, and that's the most important part. I mean, we didn't win, but we won. We moved forward on aggregate, and that's what matters. That is the important takeaway today. But there is a lot more to get into. And first and foremost, fair play to BVB. They played incredibly well today. And that's something important here that we need to take into account because to address how they played, they had a back three, which was different to how they showed up in the first leg, where they played a flat four like normal, and that clearly made it more difficult for the guys to find any space up front. Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Lamine Yamal were all struggling, especially the wingers, to find any space because once they beat the full back, there was either a midfielder down there with them and usually a center back as well. So there was so much for them to do, and they couldn't do it that well. That makes me a little bit worried about Inter Milan that can do that as well. But the reason I don't think it's nearly as worrying is because I think Dortmund played fantastic today. They pressed in a way a team that has nothing to lose presses, and that's not something a team can do as easily in the first leg. You know what I mean? It's a great performance by them nonetheless, but they had nothing to lose. They have an easier state to play in than a lot of teams can. Point here is what happened in the PSG game. Aston Villa almost came back, and they did. They won that game, and they didn't push any further, but neither did Dortmund. You know what I mean? So it was a difficult game, and I think Dortmund played incredibly well. And Dortmund also gave Bayern a really big. They drew with Bayern on the weekend in Der Klassiker, and so it's not like they are this terrible team. They haven't played great this season, but their team under Niko Kovac, especially when they play three center backs. It's a lot better. It allows them to use their wide wingers in a special way. Their midfield was fine. It really didn't do much. They were playing so much through the wings. But when Pedri came on, you saw how much better the Barca's midfield could be. That's important to point out because it wasn't without him. Not that Gavi was bad. It's just that Pedri's the best player in the world. But also something to take away here is that I want to make you guys aware of is that this is a weak Barcelona. Not only did Hansi make rotations, but we were out without Alejandro Balde, who is one of the best outlets on this team to break away. And we saw that first and foremost. Martin could not get past Couto, who's not a good defender. You know what I mean? That's the clearest issue. We could not move and give Rafinha support on the left because Martin could not get past his man. And it was like the most superficial press that it just took him out of play, and we had to just pass it back. And, with the weakened midfield, or not a weakened midfield, but a different midfield than this team is used to having when Fermin and Gavi playing together, it just didn't look smooth. They did not operate on the right wavelength that would create a team that can get through an incredible press like Dortmund had. And I think all that success that they were seeing, not having Pedri on the pitch, allowed them to press even more confidently and go and go and go to the point where they ended up scoring. Yeah, it was a pen, but they deserved to score. In the first half, they had 2.1 XG. So they easily deserved to score that. And then I want to say in the second half, we got better. I was surprised that Hansi didn't bring Pedri in sooner. I think we needed him, but he did end up coming in the second he came in. We saw how much better we got. We actually created a few chances. We scored. It was lucky, right? It was the own goal, but I think we did create some XG in the second half, so that we somewhat deserved it. But yeah, it was just tough. But the point here is that it's a weakened Barcelona without Inigo Martinez and Pedri because Inigo was on he was on yellow card accumulation. If he got another one, he would have to miss the first leg of the semifinal. Obviously not something we can go without because we missed him today. And most importantly, in Koundé being so deep all the time. And I think that was because he didn't have the leadership of Inigo next to him. Inigo is not only a big player in the dressing room, but he's such a good leader from the back. And he can help tell these guys, hey, yo, step up. Hey, yo, drop back. He can do these things in a way that Araujo just doesn't, especially when he's not playing nearly as much. It's just not the same. And I think Araujo was fine today. I know he cleared a chance right into the path of Guirassy, and he was falling backwards. At least he got a boot on it. Not ideal, but I don't think he was that bad. He also made a couple saving tackles. So it really was not as bad as I saw some people in my chat saying it was. It wasn't great. I'm not praising him by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to set expectations here. Because I know we are, look, we have so much trauma as Barca fans, and the past couple of years, it's been such a disaster that I think it's really easy for us to be really, really upset or really concerned or really stressed out all the time. We don't really need to be, and that's why I tried to set that as expectations with Dortmund playing so well and this Barcelona being a weaker Barcelona with Rafinha and Lamine being tired. I'm glad Lamine got taken out. Clearly not on his game, but let's get into the ratings as we roll through the rest of this. Chesney, he has an 8 on SofaScore, and he made several saves. He made 2 really good saves. There was a lot of like mid saves. I had to save it at his feet or something like that. But I think he put in a shift. I think he gets unlucky a couple of times. The corner, Pascal Gross actually like runs around him and kind of wraps him up before letting him go on the corner that they ended up scoring. Not the biggest issue that I have with that. I think it was, it's just a corner. It is what it is. Not a great performance, but I think it was fine. I think it was like a 6.5. It was not that bad because he was there when I think we needed him. Could have been better maybe on the third goal. The penalty was fantastic by Guirassy, and I think it was unlucky by Chesney because somehow Gross is able to stick his foot in there. I'm not holding that against my boy Tech at all. He made a couple good saves, so we're going to move quickly along. Koundé, I thought he was terrible. I really think Koundé was really bad today. Really, really, really poor. And he's played so much football. Adeyemi was just roasting him and not playing. He was just finding so much space. I don't know. A lot of the guys were overrun today, but I don't think Koundé was good. I'm going to give him like a 5, maybe a 4. I'm going to give him a 4. I just really don't think he benefited the team very much in possession or defensively. He was the deepest player for, I think, the penalty. For them finding space in the play up to the penalty or something like that, or a couple times up to that. I don't think he was good. I don't think he was great. I'll give him like a 5.5, because he did. I'll give him a 5 because he cleared the ball into Guirassy, but I really don't think he was that bad. He did make I think 1 big tackle. Kuba, some of his passes were brilliant, and this guy was able to move into space really well and do enough to win headers, and that's difficult. Guirassy's a massive human being, but you really can't praise the high line when they score, or the defense when they concede 3. But when Dortmund's playing that good, I'm not gonna hold that against him. I'll give him like a 5.5 as well. Martin, I thought he was fine. I think if you compare him to Balde, he wasn't good, but if you compare him to our expectations of him and what we've seen from him this season, and the fact that he's just not a great attacking player when he has no space and he's being suffocated, he was fine. I think he was good defensively. I think he, in possession, was okay. He spread the ball wide a couple times very early on, and then that stopped pretty quickly. Probably a 6, maybe. I don't think he was that bad compared to the, Koundé especially. And then the midfield is interesting. We'll start with Frankie, who I thought was really good. Probably the best player for Barcelona today. Just consistent, put in some really good tackles, put in some meh tackles. But I think that we relied on him so much. And without Pedri next to him, we saw how much worse this team is. And but I'm not going to hold that really against Frankie. I think a 6.5 for Frankie's probably fair. Probably the best player on the pitch today. Gavi, though, man, it's similar to what I said with Martin, that if you compare Gavi to Pedri, it's worse. It's so much worse. But I think Gavi did his job well. It's just the fact that he doesn't play might have made it more difficult for him to understand where to press more or to coordinate with his teammates' press and then to work in possession. It just wasn't happening. We saw how much worse this team is without Pedri. Gavi was fine, but not great. Made some cool interceptions there and did his thing, but it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. I think a 5.5 is probably fair. And then the 4, I'll go with Fermin first, who I think was good. It just keeps missing these chances that need to go on goal, my dude. It's so frustrating. You could say the same thing about Rafinha today, bro. Rafinha was stubbing some of his shots when he even got the opportunity to. But for me, it's he needs to score. He's in a very cold patch right now, but getting so close a lot. I want him to score. I want it to happen for him. Hopefully it does. I think a 6.5 is probably where I'm at with him. Rafinha though and Lamine, I thought they were I thought they were really, really bad. And the way Barcelona were playing, trying to find space in this press, and without guys that were gonna break the press themselves or break through the press, which you're usually Balde can do it. Frankie can do it sometimes, but not when has so much relied on him. We saw him do it in the second half when Pedri came on. Pedri can do it, but when you can break the press yourself, that then takes the stress off of wingers or forwards to run into space. And we saw Rafinha get into more space, and Lamine as well, when Pedri came on. But they really couldn't do it in the first half. And so it was them running at 3 guys at once, and it was impossible, especially when Lewandowski or Firmino had to come deep to link up with anybody to get through this press. Then there was nobody in the box anywhere. And so the only option that Rafinha usually had was to either pass it back or take on Sule himself. And today he didn't do it. He had a couple chances, but just not his best shots, and unfortunate game for him. And same thing for Lamine. Couldn't really find space. When he did, his passes were just a little bit off and not great from him. Same, I'll give them both fours, fives. I just really don't think they were good today. Lewandowski, I think, was better than them. I don't think he was great, but I think he was able to he put a couple balls in behind to Rafinha that were dirty. It's unfortunate that they were playing a back 3 because that makes the space they have back there even less. But Rafinha didn't have his game, and that's the most unfortunate thing today. It's really upsetting, honestly, because we needed him today, and thankfully we didn't. Right? It's hard to hold the lead. We know that. It was hard for PSG to hold the lead. We'll see if Arsenal can do it tomorrow, but it's hard for teams to do that. And so it's not the same game style this team is used to playing, where they're just going after it and fighting against the press. And it's a different mentality, and I think that might have showed today. So we'll see how they can handle a second leg in a different situation against maybe a slightly better team. Though I think Dortmund played wonderfully today. Like, I really think Dortmund were good. They haven't been great all season, but they played well against Bayern on the weekend and had nothing to lose. It's not like they could have dropped points today or there was a return leg. They fought for everything and they did it so well. And it was in their stadium that's so hard to play in. We already almost drew with them earlier this season, somehow scraped away a win because Rafinha was on his game. And it was Ferran Torres who scored that at the end. I think he scored a brace or something. But today, these guys weren't on it. I think when the subs came on, I think Hansi made the right choice bringing on Pedri in the 59th minute, but no, I think he could have come on earlier. Maybe he's trying to rest him as much as possible. And so if that's the mentality, then okay, I understand. But then Eric Garcia was fine. I think defensively he looked good a couple times, but I think Eric Garcia was fine. I think Pedri was great though. Pedri was, oh my God, he's so good at this game. We need him to start every game. That's unfortunate. Now, we have Celta Vigo and Mallorca in our next 2 matches, and they're on the 19th and the 22nd of April. And so I wonder if Pedri's going to be sat in one of those matches. I hope so, because I think if he's going to sit in any match, it's those. The problem is these are both decent teams in La Liga. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes. But, I think he could use some rest. So could Lamine, too. Lamine looks cooked. Ferran Torres came on, barely did anything at all. And then same for Dani Olmo. Came on, he megged a guy once, and then won a couple fouls, which was good to see. But I think we see how this team is without Dani Olmo, but more importantly without Pedri, and we need them in this team at all times. Everyone I don't even want to look at the screen because chat was going crazy, guys. I know we have all this PTSD and this drama, but this is a good team that was rotated and injured against a team that had nothing to lose in their home stadium, which is, a total blunder by the Champions League, having the away leg at the team with the worst, or the second leg at the team that had the worst record in the group stage. It's like, why? That is so unfair. I mean, it's not unfair, but you should be given, a little bit of grace. I don't know if that's the right word, but you should be able to have the second leg at your home stadium if you come in second in the league table. But whatever, it is what it is. We won. We're moving to the semifinals for the first time since 2019, I think. Right? Yeah, I believe so. So big move for us. We're going to have to play Bayern or Inter. I think Inter is more intimidating to me because they can play a back 3 like Dortmund did today. But again, they're not a perfect team either. They have played well in the Champions League, but their league form is not nearly as perfect or significant, especially defensively. It's not that they're not that much better than we have been in the league. So it's a good team, but it's not, I don't think any team is running away from it. PSG struggled today as well. So it's positive to see all of this happening. We'll see what happens tomorrow though. Hope you guys do enjoy the matches, and I'll see all you guys in the next one. Peace, boys. Visca Barça. We won. That's the most important part.